Good morning again. Welcome to our Roundtable series on scaling regenerative methods in refugee camps and settlements. So we would like to start the first introduction and also showing you the agenda of today so that we can get into a fruitful discussion. We have in total 2 hours, and yeah, let me try to share my screen here so that you can sit together. Okay. So no one can see you anymore. I hope I can get it back. Would be better. Okay. So yeah, today is our follow-up roundtable of the roundtable in Uganda in 2024 in August that you just saw in the video. And we want to today continue these discussions that we had there, these very fruitful discussions. We want to welcome new participants. So I see some new faces here. And yeah, also introduce Generation Restoration as the bridge building initiative, a young association that has the vision to transform refugee camps into regenerative communities, into flourishing places of hope. And this is what we want to see more, because we know already that a lot of you are working on these projects, and we want to try to help them give visibility, finance, scaling, multi-stakeholder dialogue, so that we can actually discuss how regenerative solutions can become the new normal in the context of humanitarian aid, of refugee camps and settlements. So I'm doing this together with Celia Schiller. She's the co-CEO, co-founder, together with me on Generation Restoration, and many other members that we have become in the last year since Generation Restoration was founded. And she will present the agenda to you.
Yeah, hello everyone, also from my side. Happy that you joined virtually. Some of you we already met in real life, so hopefully this is also a nice get-together that we're having today. The agenda is as follows. You have the don't be confused by the times on the left-hand side. It's in Eastern African time instead of German time. So we have the arrival with some greetings and seeing everyone again. We had the short welcome by Tina. And our first top is actually that we want to talk about what concerns you the most, with a little introduction of yourselves. Then we're going into the action points and challenges that we have been discussing last time when we met in Uganda. We're just quickly running through them, seeing or refreshing our minds of what we've been talking about. Then the third point would be taking a closer look at impact measurement documentation. We have 2 presentations. Thank you very much to Francis and Paulinho at this point. They're going to present how they're actually documenting impact measurement. And then we are all going into a break. So 3 and 4 will be Francis and Paulinho, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms. We're going to talk about documentation with 2 different tasks that we're going to present. So you can choose what you're more interested in, and then we're seeing how important documentation actually is. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit in the plenum, and talk about formation of working groups for the next phases of our work together. And then we'll have a little wrap up. So hopefully we're gonna get through in 2 hours time. We're all lively discussers, and that's what counts, and that's what's important. So let's get into it. And then we have a save the date. This is just an idea. I just said that we are also thinking about the further phases going on from this roundtable. So we're thinking about having a next online roundtable next year. This is just a preliminary date, so it's not set in stone, but you can already mark it down or see whether you would have time and come back to us.
Yeah, thank you, Thea. And so from the very first roundtables we started in 2021, you can see the recordings also on YouTube. We asked the question, what if we transform refugee camps into regenerative communities, and how can we do this? What is hindering us? What are the challenges? And so the main results from these dialogues were that we can do it. There are already good examples out there, but there is a challenge to scale it. So the strategy to scale it and to create long-term sustainable change is to scale the positive examples with funding, visibility, networking, like we are doing it today, so that this strong movement can grow. In the second dimension, it's about also involving those who set the standards today, like humanitarian aid organizations, to develop together how it can look like in the future. What are the guidelines, the standards, or also the kind of rules it's played by, and how can it become regenerative? And then also involving those institutions and people who want to invest in impact and positive impact for the sustainable development goals. So this is the third part you see here, which is about co-creating business models for impact investment, because having solutions that are sustainable and regenerative shall not always rely on donations, but become independent by business models that are also not only ecological or on the environmental side or on the social side, but also on the economic side sustainable. So this is a theory of change, how we can actually get to our vision together. And we are always open to feedback or to your ideas, what you think would be important, what would be the challenges to overcome. So far, this is the theory of change, and Generation Restoration is a movement that sees itself as a bridge builder to help this strong and diverse network that we are, with communication, impact assessment, facilitation of such dialogues as we do today, and also being a bridge builder between projects and the investment world. So now we want to hear from you. Who are you and what are your concerns at the moment when you think about regenerative solution in refugee camps and settlements? What are you working on at this moment, so that we kind of know a bit who's in the room and what can be discussed today? And yeah, I give it on to Celia to moderate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go by pictures from left to right. So to my right, I now have Paulinho. Could you start it off?
Hey everyone, I'm Paulinho Mzaliwa, and I am from Akivale Refugee Settlement, Uganda. I work with Unity Social Innovation Center. I think, so I don't know how to check in what the procedure, but what has been more interesting me to join this roundtable is how amazing we always dive deeper in terms of diversify idea to implement regenerative approaches in refugee settlements, and bring a huge impact in terms of food, responding to food insecurity, climate resilience, and so many other factors. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Paulinho. To my right, I now have Francis.
Yes, I'm Francis Rumbuye from Nature and Creativity for the Future Generation. It is a local NGO working in Uganda. Our concern this time is to find real solutions for climate change, because we are really experiencing it. We are expecting rains from August, but it came in October. So climate change is real, and we have to find solutions which are in line with regenerative solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Now I have Brenda.
Well, thank you so much, Tina and Celia, for organizing this session, the roundtable, and other members who have managed to join. I am Brenda Nakafero from Kitgum. I'm a founder at Permaculture Hub, Northern Uganda. What I'm focusing on at the moment, we are looking at how we can fight food insecurity in the community, and what we have to do now, because we have come with great ideas. Now we need to put things into action without delay. And yeah, so that we go and implement these regenerative practices in the refugee camps. Also, I'm thinking about also, though we do food insecurity, and also empowering the refugee camp with they call it economic empowerment, as Tina mentioned about the entrepreneurship, developing entrepreneurship. That is also providing them with the skills to improve their livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Now I'm gonna go on, and I actually see Julia on my screen.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Julia. I am part of Generation Restoration. And I mean, like you mentioned before, yeah, it's about to find real solutions for climate change and food security. So, yeah, I don't have concerns to share for the moment, because I'm today here to listen and to learn from you guys what actually is happening and what concerns you. So for me, it's more about listening and learning from you how we can, yeah, support.
Thank you, Julia, for joining. Now I have Catherine Nantongo.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Nantongo Sekitoleko. I'm the founder of Ubuntu Bwakasalina. We are a private business. I'm a private business. I'm a founder. We initially we started off by adding value to local ingredients and creating premium products. But then I pushed it further because of my love for nature and people, and also knowing that regenerative agriculture can change lives. Last year, I started a pilot with CARE International, and I also worked with Paulinho, and we set up about 105 micro-food forests in Changwali, using regenerative practices. The idea was that we want to harvest the ingredients from there and not only add value to them, but also make them directly accessible to the growing number of people in the cities that do not have access to fresh and quality food. So our idea was to economically uplift, like to create a circular economy by supporting the people in the refugee settlement to set up these forests, and then set up value addition hubs within the settlement itself so that jobs are created there. And the idea for the forest is because after some time, the forest becomes regenerative, so you don't have to do that much work in it. So that people can then go and work in the value addition hubs. And then we collect that product, and that is the product that we sell in the cities. If you go in any of Uganda's supermarkets, you will know that most of the stuff is imported, even the fruits and the vegetables, which is quite sad. It can be produced in these areas, and not only can we improve food security in the regions, improve climate change, create jobs, but then we can also have proper nutrition in the cities where people are sort of struggling with their health because they have changed their lifestyles. So that is what we're tackling. Currently, I'm in the city setting up our hub. After we set up the microfood forest and we saw that the system can work, we are now trying to set up a hub in the city that can also educate the people who are here on what a food forest, what regenerative practices are, because when you live in an apartment, it all doesn't make sense. And I did not want to be in my bubble on the other side and then have the forest ready and then the farmers eat, but then they have no money. So that is what my business is about, basically creating a green growth system that cares for the people, the planet, and makes a profit. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for introducing your approach, Catherine. Then we're going on to Sana. Sana, I'm sorry. Can you hear Sana? Then we're gonna give Anne some time and move on to Lena.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Lena and I'm doing an internship at the ASA program. It's a program which is funded by the Federal Ministry of Development Cooperation in Germany, and I've been in Uganda and I've worked with Generation Restoration and also participated in the first roundtable. And yeah, I'm here today to hear what are the following concerns, what are the following ideas, and I'm also more here to listen and to participate more passively, but I'm looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, Lena. Then I have Ansima Kasinga.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Ansima Chasinga Roland. You can call me Roland, it's easier. And I'm from Nakivale Refugee Camp. I work with an organization called Folona, For the Love of Nature. And it's my first time joining the roundtable, and I'm here today to learn from you guys, and maybe next time I'll have a lot to share. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Then I have Henrik.
So good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. So I'm Henrik. I'm based between Freiburg and Basel, which means very south of Germany. Concerning here the project Generation Restoration, I just fall in love with the vision when I heard about it a couple of weeks ago the first time. So I'm just here to see you, to hear, to learn. My background is one as organizational developer and change management and all of that type of stuff, originally in industry, and the last years more and more also facilitating topics related to water. And also here in the south of Germany, we've got a big conflict because due to climate change, the farmers can't irrigate their fields anymore as they did. So it was for me very surprising that it's not only happening like in Africa, but also here already. And my biggest concern, yeah, in a way, I'm growing myself into really that, I mean, that whole focus on economy is so wildly mad. And I just myself understood deeper how important it is that we put the land in the center and then the people and then the economy. And what works within me is kind of that complex issue of, oh, wow, how can we generally grow into this change and what is my role in it? And yeah, and I want to walk more and more in that field of regeneration myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrik, for also drawing the big picture as well. Then we're going on with Miriam.
I don't know if you can see me.
Yep.
It's my son here. And he's a little bit tired, so I'm not going to talk too much. I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm very curious. And yeah, I will listen most of the time, I think.
Thank you, Miriam, for joining. Also bringing the small kids to the roundtable. And then last but not least, we have Gloire. Maybe Gloire.
Hello,
Unfortunately, your connection is a little bit disrupted. If you get a chance, some minutes later. Does someone else understand it better, or is it everyone? Okay, good. Gloire, we can't hear you very well. Maybe we return to you.
Oh, sorry. Then I'll keep my camera off.
Now it was better.
So my name is Gloire. I'm going to keep my camera off just because of my network issue. I live in Akiva settlement as well. I also work with Plethora Social Initiative, a refugee-led organization that also implementing regenerative agriculture solutions to build resilience among refugees, but also entrepreneurship to equip them with the tools and the skills to be able to scale and, and be sustainable into livelihood building. I'm also happy to be into this roundtable. It's my first time joining this roundtable, and I'm glad to see the amazing people and amazing ideas that are emerging. And my concern is, I think my concern is climate change is real and it's happening. And we people living in Akiva settlement in refugee camps, and I think with others, this is the right time to take the right decision to build a resilience to people who are living into this hardship, implementing solutions that are going to tackle on the climate change, but also solutions that are going to generate our land and bring more sustainability into everything that we do. And I'm also happy to be here, learn, hear from others, but also contribute to what we also are doing in Akiva Refugee Settlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloire, and thank you for joining this roundtable. So now we've gone all around, having heard a lot of concerns from climate change to drawing the big pictures to small projects that are already going on. And now we want to take a short look back for those who are here at the roundtable for the first time and couldn't join the last time, and also to get us started. So what were actually our challenges that we reflected on the roundtable in August? We have listed some challenges, and I just want to quickly run through them. We've talked about scalability, resistance to change, lack of knowledge, comfort zoning, issues of policy and relations, the context of certain communities, an information gap, conflicting interests such as commercialization, funds or funding, different mindsets, as well as the competition of money and transformative process. The duplication of work, getting funders and donors, capacity building, such as implementation processes, decision-making processes, and training of participants. The integration, so having sufficient quantifiable data or sophisticated software. Climate change, what we just mentioned as well, with extreme weather while pursuing those regenerative solutions, and also timing. And then there was also the discussion about a lack of meaningful beneficiaries, the dependency on donor funding. So what is actually the attractiveness for private investment into those solutions? Poverty, grassroots level actors or the seed usage thereof, consistency of pursuing those solutions, the globalization context, so having competition going on, and sustainability. The question was raised, are we actually able to sustain? And lastly, the balance between livelihoods and conservation. So this continuous discussion that is going on, as well as a lack of political will within different country contexts, and maybe also potential bias. And what were our action points that we wanted to take with us from August? Those action points, and we highlighted the most important here, were networking, share the knowledge and experience, and we're taking this on with further roundtables, pursuing more trainings of regenerative agriculture, as well as engaging the local community or discussing further methods with them, implementing and establishing communities of practice, mapping of key stakeholders, and accessibility to long-term funding. Next slide. Then also studying those approaches. How can we develop further public-private partnerships? Policy advocacy to the government, setting clear goals, financing existing capacity, maybe among each other, awareness creation and outreach, and climate change mitigation that is actually a continuing process. So those were our action points and challenges from the last roundtable. We have also listed them on our website to read through them one more time. We'll also share the presentation with you so you can read through them again. For now, we actually want to go into the documentation of impact, taking a closer look at impact measurement documentation and taking a closer look at this documentation of scaling our approaches. And this actually leads to our action points, policy advocacy to the government on one side. And it also leads to awareness creation and outreach, and then also basically getting accessibility to long-term funding, seeing where our process is actually taking us. Because when we document certain things, then we can track our process for ourselves and also track it for others who are interested in it. And two of our participants have some documentation already prepared. I assume that others of you have also their own way of doing documentation. Those are just two examples on how documentation can be done in the frame of regenerative agriculture and its solutions. So we're going to start those presentations off with Paulinho from NIDOS. And he's going to talk about his impact measurement documentation. Gonna make sure that you can share your screen, Paulinho. Can you already see the option for? Yeah, perfect.
Good.
The floor is yours.
So, do you see my screen?
We can see everything. All good.
So today I'm going to share about how we are documenting our project progress, how we set up our indicators based on our project goals. Yeah, as I say, I'm Paulinho Mzaliwa and I'm founder of Unity Social Innovation Center. But also through my work, I've been lucky this year to win the Genuine Refugee Awards organized by USA for UNHCR. And I'm really honored to meet the international standards and be recognized. So it's obvious that everyone has a way of putting goals and indicators of their projects based on donor agreements, based on your vision, based on your goals that you have, you conceive when you have been, you design your projects. And what is common is how we monitor and evaluate the progress of our projects. And there is 3 steps that I wanted to dive deep today. The one is the output. The second one, the outcomes and the impact. So these 3 steps are always complicated at some point to so many people because we always confuse them. And while confusing them, we are at the point that we are limiting ourselves. And you may say that, oh, I've done this project and this is the impact that this project will, I want to see this impact at the end of this project, yet you have only limited by your, to output. So this done form a result chain that help us to understand and measure the progress of change we aim to create through the projects that we'll be implementing in refugee settlements, but also not only limited for refugee, but also including host community. So the outputs, the first one is output level. So the output level is your project's immediate results. So for example, when you are organizing a training, so you always, okay, there is a number of people that have joined my training. So this is the immediate result that you have been seeing. For example, you are running a campaign of tree planting. So you have a goal that I'm going to plant over 1,000 trees at the end of this month. So when you are planting the trees, this is the immediate result that people are seeing. And you can just communicate them to partner, to donors. So this is the output. So the outcome level results, these are your big change. So how your project is impacting people behavior, how your project, what the success look like in your project, how your project is impacting people way of living. For example, so the adoption of regenerative agriculture in refugee settlements after a training in permaculture, for example, how many farmers have already started practicing regenerative agriculture in their field. So this is the outcome of the training that you have facilitated, in that the effects of the outputs that have been you have communicated before to your to the audience, or to your donors, or to your partners. So how people, for another example is how many people now are eating health food following the adoption of regenerative agriculture in your community or in your area of implementation. So there is also impact level. So the impact level is a broader picture of the goal that you want to achieve. And this is always you always see that it's overall country indicators. So, and it's referred to the long term and broad change that the project it's gonna happen, or as a team you have set up. So, and this is sometimes out of the control of the project, because there are so many factors that can come and interfere your goal. For example, of the impact level is maybe reducing food security in refugee settlements, or restore biodiversity in a certain period of time, or implementing carbon in the soil. So this always out of our control, and sometimes it could happen or not due to some factors and challenge that occur in your journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Paulinho. That was really interesting, having those different levels and yeah, creating some guidance on how to structure your documentation. So I would leave the floor to all of you right now to pose any questions that you might have towards Paulinho. Tina.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation, Paulinho. I think it's very, very important, as you lined it out, to see what are the inputs, outputs, outcome, impact, and how you described it was, yeah, very, very good to make it understood better. Thank you. I was wondering if you could give us some example from your work, how you do it. So what is, for example, an input or an output, an outcome, an impact that you see for your community and for your work with your leaders?
Awesome. So, for example, for the outputs, so we always focusing on educating farmer in terms of permaculture and food forest co-creation. So, and right now we have reached more than 1,000 farmers in Naki Valley refugee settlements. And also, as Catherine have been saying, in also Kyangwale refugee settlements where we have been working together. So this is the outputs that we have so far been able to successfully made. So there is also over 6 food forests that we have already created here in Naki Valley refugee settlements and in Kyangwale. So these are just demo sites, and not including the micro-food forest that participants have been setting up after our training. So as outcome, so right now, we are happy to share that. So following the adoption of the different approaches that we have been able to demonstrate in our trainings. So farmers are now being able to increase 2% on the production of their used harvesting in a farming cycle. So there is also a increase on income generation based on the products that they have been harvesting from their garden as well, and to meet their basic needs. And as an impact, so we have seen a great impact in terms of because we have been able, our approach is holistic, but from soil regeneration, where we generate the soil through our vermicomposting. That's we collect food waste from the markets, decompose it with earthworms, and apply this organic fertilizer in the soil. And this organic fertilizer has improved the drainage water of from the 8 centimeter to 6 centimeters per hour. So I think this is the impact that we are having right now.
Thank you. Any other questions, thoughts, remarks?
I would have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're documenting your output, do you use certain software? Do you use Excel? How do you list everything down and measure this data and the facts? What's your tool that you use or recommend?
So we always use Excel because it's free, and it's also everyone can access it without any challenge. So we document our data in Excel.
Good to know. If there are no further questions, then I would suggest we're going over to our second presentation from our August Roundtable participant, Francis. He's from the Nature and Creativity for the Future Generation, NCFG, which is a consortium of different grassroots organizations. And so we're going to take a closer look at scaling documentation with Francis.
Thank you. In 2016, there was a survey carried out in Uganda. And the findings, one of the findings was that 120,000 hectares of forest cover are lost every year. And this survey was carried out by Uganda National Housing. And on 9th August 2024, 30 people died instantly because of the landslides of a landfill at Chitezi, a suburb of Kampala capital city. The loss of forest cover and the landfill both contribute to climate change. That's why our organization started with some two approaches towards climate change. One of them was to promote indigenous trees, planting of indigenous trees, and also promote use of energy-saving stoves, constructing them using locally available materials. Now, at this moment, you want to add on another approach, which is part of regenerative solutions. Going back to the survey, it was discovered that majority of end users of charcoal and firewood are urban and peri-urban low-income population. And you find that majority of these people concentrate in one place and accumulate a lot of organic waste. And finally, they have no other alternative source of energy. So what is left to them is charcoal and firewood. And that's why they contribute a lot to the demand for cutting our trees. Now, the solution is to use the available resources. These are the waste, organic waste, including even human waste, to transform it into biogas. And the biogas is the only alternative source of energy which will be affordable to these people, because other sources are very expensive, like electricity and LPG gas. So if we take this approach, we will form clusters. We find where these people are concentrated and establish biogas digesters, generate gas and distribute to them within their localities. And then for scaling it up, you can also go to another place. For example, you can move from one refugee settlement to another, doing the same project. And this one will greatly reduce climate change. The demand for firewood and charcoal will drastically reduce. In summary, that's what I have to say about this new approach. I welcome your questions and comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis. We're still going through your presentation, so maybe you all want to take a little moment to look at Francis' slides from the survey up until what can be done. Gonna move to the next slide. Moving on, what Francis has been talking about, intervention objectives. And then lastly, how can we do it? All right. Thank you, Francis. You were way too fast for my little finger to go through this presentation. I hope you all could take a minute to read through what Francis has been talking about. Yeah, if there are questions on how his thinking or the thinking of NCFG evolved around scaling documentation and how to put your points down, list them, and try to find the red line or red dot between your thinking process, then please feel free to share your question.
Thank you so much, Francis, for sharing. It's a very impressive project, and I'm not sure whether I got it all. As I understood, you are working on the biogas as a solution. So I was wondering, is there was, I think, in the presentation also one point where it says scalability and also providing these techniques. So did you get already the chance to implement it somewhere? And if yes, how did you document it so far? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. At the moment, we have it on a small scale in households and even at our demonstration center. But if funds available can be put at a large scale, that is like in slums, where people are many and in one place, and even in refugee settlements. I understand people are concentrated in one area because there they generate a lot of raw material for biogas. That is organic waste. So it is possible to replicate this system anywhere where people concentrate much.
Thank you.
Ra, you have your hand up.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry to say, Gra, but could you maybe turn off your video so we can hear you better?
Francis, for this insight. I did love the. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, so I was appreciating the presentation of Mr. Francis. It was incredible. I think I loved the metrics, the numbers from the beginning, which is awesome. And I would like to having just two questions. The first question, I would like to understand if this is still a pilot project for the organization, Mr. Francis. The second question, I would like to hear some of data metrics on how many biogas have you so far implemented, and how are they? How many how many trees have they conserved? Because it's all about stopping cutting trees that are bringing landsliding, and how many kind of trees have you prevented to be cut off? But also, what are that impact, the real impact in real life for the people that are the beneficiaries of this biogas? And yeah, those are the questions that I would like to ask Mr. Francis.
Thank you very much. This is a thinking. We have not done it anywhere at large scale, as I mentioned it before. It is just at the household level, but it can be done maybe first as a pilot project in one area, and then can be transferred to other areas. And I did not get very well the other question, but I think you were asking about the number of trees. Is it the number of trees to be recovered?
Yeah, so then that should be now answered, the second question, because it's still a thinking, and it's still at the household level. And I wanted to know the metrics, how many biogas have you implemented so far, but also how are they changing the real life of the people benefiting it. But as you say that it's still at kind of a prototype, but the thinking, it definitely answered the second.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, is there another question for Francis? Okay. I think then we have a small break now of around 5-ish minutes. So now it's approximately, oh, Francis, you have your hand up. Yeah.
Before we go to the break,
Yeah.
You remember that video which you showed before? There is a gentleman called Patrick who was giving a speech there. He's sick, seriously sick. So you pray for him. He's in hospital. He has a problem with his head. So he got some vein which got damaged. So you pray for him. Patrick, I think if you go back to the video, you will see him.
Yes, we will. Also, before going to the break, and maybe we can send him this as a greeting to the hospital. We would love to do a group picture with all of you, because now we are all there. Yeah, just for the documentation of this roundtable, and to share it with others who might join our next roundtable too. So let me see. Yes, have a quick recovery, Patrick, and let's have a greeting and a prayer for him, and showing our smiles, faces, and prayers for the regeneration in general, and also for our friend Patrick. Thank you. So right now, as Silvia said, we're going to a very short break until I think it's
10 past.
10 past, yeah, thank you.
Now we have 6 past, so let's say 11 past, so we all have our bio pause.
See you in a minute.
Awesome. Where we're going to go into a task, and we're going to go into breakout rooms for this. As said, our overall topic is documentation to connect to what we are doing into, okay, how can we track that process? How can we advocate for policy changes, and how we can create more awareness when we're collecting data, when we're collecting thoughts, when we're structuring down our thinking process of certain projects. So this can all be done in documentation, and to start thinking about documentation is the first step to then leading us to this advocacy for change. So we have 2 groups, Group A and Group B. Group A would be dealing with the question, what do we need to document for impact assessment? So what are actually certain factors that we could measure, or where we could track progress, and what of those factors are actually needed, because maybe potentially there are also factors that we could document well, but they're not necessarily needed for the goals that we want to achieve. Group B would be handling the question, how far can we standardize documentation on common aspects to advocate for policy changes? So as we just saw, UNIDOS and NCFG had different documentations on different projects and certain ways of their working. So that's all trickling down to, okay, how is my organization actually built up, or how am I approaching regenerative solutions? But is there a way that we could standardize this to have more of leverage to advocate for certain goals or goals measurement or certain tracking processes? So those are two questions that we've been thinking of, and would be awesome if you could write in the chat either A or B, what question interests you the most, and then we'll arrange breakout groups. And in group A, I'm going to be sitting to moderate and protocol a little bit, and in group B, Tina will be sitting to also moderate and protocol your thoughts.
Yes, and we will go to the breakout rooms and can also choose. So I pause the recording right now, and we will have the presentation of the results afterwards.
So now we're gonna go into a little plenum session. This should not take more than 5 minutes. I would basically just ask those participants in group A and B to share a little bit of what they've been talking about. And maybe we can start with group A. So one of my group members could maybe share a little bit what we talked about.
I think not everyone is back. We were still speaking when you left. We wait a minute.
Oh, okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, and there's still 3 people in the room too. All right. I think though we're all here now. Francis is here, Julia is here. Yeah. So let's take 5 minutes to each reflect on what we've been talking about in group A and group B. And I would first ask someone from group A to share a little bit what our discussion was evolving around. Ansima or Gloire, do you want to take it off?
Hi, maybe let me share a bit before Gloire can jump in. Our question was about what do we need to document for impact assessment in permaculture. And we had a few ideas coming in. And personally, I thought about how can we find ways of documentation at a very small scale, which can also be transmitted even to the farmers who do not have like large knowledge in calculating carbon and stuffs in the air and like the big goals. So I shared about maybe we can calculate it through soil health. Farmers can easily calculate the amount of nutrients in their soil from a season and then calculate in the next season, and then understand if there has been a change, which is positive or negative, without maybe having to have the exact amount in grams or something about how much nutrients was added or reduced in their soil. And they can be able to know if the trainings that they had an impact in their soil. Can also be calculated through water saving, water management. And this is by knowing if farmers understand that their soil has been saving water differently from the first season before they were trained about permaculture, and the season after they are trained about permaculture, and the methods that they used. This is a way that they can understand if what they learned had an impact on their garden, maybe by understanding this season we had like 1 month of having moisture in the soil after the rainfalls, and it's different from last month because we only had like 2 weeks of moisture in the soil, and that way they will understand that there has been a change, or maybe through harvesting, or maybe through the quality of the harvest, because we all have gardens. Maybe we have all tried to plant food, but sometimes you see there is different qualities. You can plant the same seeds, but depending on how we like manage the garden, some can grow very healthy, others can grow very thin or something. And yeah, these are kind of small things that can help farmers and us to document the impact effectively and simply, and in a way that everyone will understand, and they can do it on their own. And the last one was about mindsets. I shared about when you start speaking about climate change and pollution and all these subjects, it becomes like locked in your mind, to the point where if you go to the market and buy something that you need, but it is in a plastic container, or something that you have to throw away, you go on the way and you feel like shy to throw it outside. So you have to like put it in your backpack and reach up to home so you can burn it or use it in other ways. And this is something that grows when people have conversations, when you train people and they understand that this is bad and this is good and this is what they can do. So when it's already in their mind, they're going to start acting accordingly. And we also shared about how people like get to understand that climate change is a problem to them, and why many have not had the mindset change. And so I shared an example about refugees in the camp. We come from very different countries and we have very different climates. And when people reach in the camp, if they have no one to tell them, we always tend to believe this is how things are in this new country. Like in Congo, there is always rains and food grows really much. Everyone's up there talking about stories about how much they used to harvest, and how much there is too much sunshine in Uganda and they can't harvest as much as they used to, even if they put even more efforts. And so I share that it's because maybe most of them don't have someone to tell them that this is climate change, and what climate change is, and what they can also do so that there can be a change from where we are, and it can also go to being good and they can harvest more. And when they learn about this, then they tend to act upon it, to do something to change, because they already know this is something that can be changed, and it comes because of this, and it's not only because I left my country and this country will never change. It's just like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ansima. Yeah, we really delved into micro, macro, and mindset levels here on what do we actually need for impact measurement. It all trickles down to the people. Yeah, I am now really eager to hear what Group B has been talking about.
So I think I would suggest Julia, would you like to share some of our insights? Would it be okay for you?
Yes, sure. I just needed to get energy source for my laptop. Now I'm back. So what we were talking about, so what I shared or asked for if there is already maps of the camps available and where the land plots for permaculture projects in the forests are. And what I shared is that there are techniques, for example, where you use a smartphone and you just walk around a camp or a land plot, and then you create dots, like measure dots, and then you can create a map. And this could be connected to to have the documentation in a digital way, which could help to transport information towards also policymakers to see what changes already happened, to make it visible and to make it easy to understand, because impact measurement can be very complicated in measuring it, but also in explaining to people which are not in the area, so they have a feeling to understand what's going on.
Yeah, thank you. And we also talked about the question. So because when you start measuring things, you might have another hypothesis than later on. So we always have to start with one and then adjust it through times, which makes standardization a little bit more difficult but more accurate, because camps are different, situations are different, the times are changing. So sometimes you have to also adjust the things you are measuring or the way you are measuring. This is why Francis also pointed out that it needs professionals, and also Henrik said it like roles for analyzers, for facilitators, documenters, and communicators. And that it can also help to have techniques like system or systemic constellation, where you can visualize who or which groups are influencing which parts of the actual normal or the standard, so that not only it's analyzed, but also it can be felt with these techniques by the groups that are actually in the systemic constellation, where you really embody the situation. Yeah, this was the summary of the Group B's discussion.
Thank you for sharing your insights from the group. We have documented everything and we'll share it. We're getting into the last 15 minutes of our meeting, where we actually want to continue those discussions and have been thinking about the formation of working groups, because you all have different interests and things that you want to work on. And so we have put in some examples or suggestions on how this could look like in the aftermath of this roundtable. It could be 3 groups, could also be more depending on interest, and the topics can also change depending on your interest. But how we've seen your interest up until now, it's been structuring around 1, seed production and conservation. Then secondly, impact assessment, and thirdly, scaling of those regenerative solutions. And one structure could be that we are providing Google Documents for those groups where you can put in your thoughts and also meet on your regular basis. And then we would be following up on this process with you and also call for a little chat, looking at your documents, and from there on actually evolve into a next roundtable. That's why it's also set a little bit more in the future, or should be set more in the future, so you have time to work on your ideas. And there we could discuss the results of your documents that you've been working on and also show it during the next roundtable. And we've been talking about documentation during this roundtable a lot. So the formation of the working groups kind of takes this with us because you would be working on a document, and this then leads us to a standardization of certain documentation, of gathering our thoughts and seeing what would we need for those different thoughts or steps in impact assessment, and then leading to advocacy for policy change. And yeah, Tina posed two very good questions in the chat. What topics would you like to continue discussing, and which topic for a working group would be interesting for you? So if you can share your thoughts on that, so we can also structure our roundtables and the approach you want to take forward with eventually those Google Docs, forward. Francis already chose. That's also fine if those topics resonate with you and you would already be interested to be in one of those working groups. Then that's also perfectly fine, and it's not restricted to this roundtable group that we're having just now. We will approach everyone from the roundtable in August to potentially be joining a working group and reach out to further grassroots initiatives if they want to join one of those working groups. So that will be follow-on communication as well. But now it's also your time in this short group or small group to frame topics, to give us feedback.
Yeah, what I was saying in the breakout room when the last minute started was that I think it's really important how to afterwards, after a documentation or after an impact assessment, how you can demonstrate it in a visual way, that people get inspired from it, that people actually see the change, like maybe with like pictures or maps or whatever. And I think this could be maybe a topic for the impact assessment group, but could be also maybe an extra point how to make information visible to actually create a bigger impact. Yeah, maybe in this way. I don't know, just an idea.
That's a really good idea, I think. That was also what we've been talking about in Group A, from getting from this macro level, the conceptualization, onto the different environments we would potentially be in, into the people and their cultures and their mindsets, and making the information appealing for different conceptualizations and people is an important topic that we could think about including.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can also invite people to join different groups or suggest new topics through the email through the email list we have, so that we can then also form with people who are not joining today but are interested in some topics, some groups and discussions around the next roundtables. So what we would like to share also with you are the next steps, and also how the impact logic of generation restoration is looking like, because I already talked about this movement and how it can move forward. And so we broke these 3 dimensions also down to the impact logic of IOOI that Paulinho was sharing today. So looking at the problem and how we can solve it with a strategy, and what kind of input, output, outcome, and impact we could have or define here, so that the different dimensions of the needs that were detected in the dialogue so far can be met. So one is that the regenerative projects in refugee camps are small, unknown, and unfinanced until now. And the ultimate impact would be to have them, to have camps and settlements as regenerative learning spaces that are established in the camps and around the camps. So our role here can be to be the bridge builder to scale positive examples that are here already, with fundraising, communication, dialogues, so that we can generate donations and communication outputs to ultimately make the movement and the projects that are already there grow, recognized, and that they can learn from each other, which we, for example, also do with this event today. Second problem is that key players are not yet into regenerative solutions. They have not implemented it yet, although they are sometimes aware of the project. And the ultimate impact would be to have a regenerative design already that is considered and implemented in every camp. So how can we get there? With dialogues, with processes that define guidelines and standards, which needs networking, dialogues, and research, roundtables, so that we develop these guidelines together, so that the players are empowered to contribute to the regeneration with their organizations. And everyone in this kind of ecosystem that we are in knows how they can contribute to the vision. And the third problem is that investors want meaningful projects to be financed with their means, but they do not see the business cases yet. So ultimately, it would be the goal to have them and their money continuously reinvested in regenerative structures, so that the money that flows back from a sustainable business model can then be used again to start a new one, so that it's really a kind of circular economy also of the money to help projects that are helping people and the environment to grow. So it's our task together to develop such opportunities and promoting viable business models, doing research for it, networking for it, so that business models can evolve and investors can invest their money effectively for all 17 sustainable development goals. So this is how we broke down the theory of change of generation restoration to this impact model, and now are starting to also develop ways how we can actually measure it, and are very happy to have you with us to help us in this journey. Yeah, I hand it back to Celia with the save the date.
Yeah, once more, save the date. Do not write it down with a non-removable marker or anything, because it's not set in stone. So it's a preliminary date, but we would like to see you again. And until then, we will stay in contact via email and getting this working group process started, and gather your thoughts once more on the topics.
Yeah, and with this, we would like to thank you for joining and discussing with us this morning, and also to invite you to, stay in contact, scale together the regenerative projects that are already here, help with visibility, with networking, so that we can come into really deep dialogues for change. So what you can do now is to share what you heard here, to subscribe for our news and join the next roundtable. We are very much looking forward to creating positive change with you, and are also open to discuss more with you right now. We have some minutes left to hear from you. Thank you so far.